Good morning, everyone. We are now in Tennessee. We just left Kentucky very early this morning. I got about 2 more hours, so there's a variety of things I could comment on, as I read the newspaper and look at the internet. But one in particular, I saw an article yesterday. The day before maybe, I was on the treadmill. Anyhow, it talks about how the next president, whoever that's going to be, they have to have a platform that includes prison reform. That became a requirement all of a sudden. Nobody's done nothing about prison reform in 40 years, apart from making it worse, or what Trump has just done with the First Step Act. But anyway, I digress. So, in this article, it says that anyone convicted, they said that the new president's platform has to include in its platform a policy that basically says anyone convicted of a nonviolent crime will not go to prison. So let me ask you something. And I really want your feedback. I really do, because I'm going to make, I'm going to be saying some things that I think people will respond to very emotionally. But how about if I steal your identity, and after I do that, I take everything you've worked your whole life for? That's not violent. I'm not hurting anybody. Do you think I should go free? Or do you think maybe I should lose my freedom because I stole everything you have? Listen. Some people might think because I've spent time in prison that, I'm not, or I don't support law and order. But I do support law and order, and I do believe that living irresponsibly has consequences, and one of those consequences is going to prison, whether or not you commit a crime of violence or not. Now, do I think someone should be in jail for marijuana? No, I don't. But I think this idea that no violent crime should basically go unpunished, if they're calling for probation, and I'm going to be honest with you, I've been on probation. That's not punishment to me, and it's not punishment to anybody else, and it doesn't teach anybody anything about doing things differently. So this idea that prison reform is about letting everyone go, look, there's a lot of things that I could talk about for the next half an hour regarding just letting people who've been locked up 20 and 30 years just walk away from prison when, it's only been about retribution for the past couple of decades of their life. The point being is Alice Johnson has been let go recently, and she should have been let go. And there's many others like her that Heidi and I have met in prison that should be let go. People who are serving 20 and 30 years or even natural life for things we're sending people to rehabs for nowadays. But we also have to consider that in many instances, these people have no place to go when they go home. When that gate opens, they're not going to have family standing there like Alice Johnson did. Right? They're not going to have the resources and the support that Alice Johnson had. So how are they going to survive when they go home? Like there has to be more to it than we're just going to let people go. That's one of the things. The other thing is in terms of the First Step Act, and for those of you who've been following us for any length of time, you know that Heidi and I have been to Washington and we've commented on that. And so I'm not saying anything that I haven't said to them. The First Step Act basically views the root of incarceration through the problems of illiteracy and poverty. I don't necessarily view it that way. Those are certainly big problems. And so in response to those problems, the First Step Act wants to give those individuals, they want to give them an education, they want to teach them a trade skill so they can go live happily ever after. But as I see it, that's not what's going to happen. Because I see the root of incarceration through a lens of morality that has some different branches, and people go, oh, morality. Don't tell me how to live my life. You can't tell me how to live. But here's the deal. People who live moral lives don't kill people. And people who live moral lives don't rape people, and they don't participate in criminal behavior. There's something to be said about living a life of integrity, honesty, a life that's principled, a life that's moral. And so the approach to reform and to reducing recidivism and incarceration has to include an agenda that speaks to morality. So when you look at the issues of, say, fatherlessness, and I challenge anyone to come back to me and prove to me I'm wrong, but to the degree fatherlessness increases in America, so does the rates of suicide, so do the rates of incarceration and addiction and illiteracy and poverty. And people don't want to, I don't know, I mean, there are people who will admit that, but there's a lot of people who refuse to admit it. Don't tell me that I have to have a father raising my child. I believe, look, I'm a Christian man, and I believe in a father and a mother raising a son and a daughter. I'm not ashamed of that, and it doesn't make me a racist, but I do believe that God had a particular order in mind when he created the family. And I believe that when you remove the father from that order, there comes confusion and distortion and deception. And to the exact degree fatherlessness exists in this nation across every culture, okay, is the degree to which we're seeing these problems increase. And also, I would finally add the experience of trauma in the lives of children. And a lot of this trauma comes in homes where there is no father. And it comes in homes where there are fathers. But those two things are the lenses through which I see the root of mass incarceration. Fatherlessness, because this idea, and this is something else, and I don't want to get long-winded about this, but I'm going to throw it out there because I'm hoping somebody comments on it. But mass incarceration is talked about as if only people of color are affected by this. I want to be clear about something. Certainly there are disparities as it relates to minorities being arrested at higher rates than people who are white. But the fact of the matter is, there are 1 million white Americans in prison. There's 1 million black Americans in prison, and there's probably 400,000 or 500,000 Spanish individuals in prison. But this, make no mistake about it, this is a human problem. This isn't a problem that only affects one particular race or culture of people. And I think one of the problems, one of the reasons we haven't made headway is because it's being projected. It's just being put out there as if, there's only one population of people being impacted. Trust me, just as many white guys getting raped in prison as black guys, just as many white guys in prison getting tortured as black guys and Spanish guys. This is a human problem, and it needs to be addressed on that level. So just some perspectives of mine, and of course all of my perspectives come from a matter of competency, a matter of experience, and what I've lived and what I've seen from going through these experiences in my own life. But to sum it up, you're not going to change mass incarceration simply by letting people go and not holding them accountable for crimes they've committed and for living irresponsibly. So please give me your feedback. I'll look forward to hearing it later. And Heidi and I will give you an update later on today of what we're going to be up to. All right, God bless you all.